Good morning, everyone. It's my birdie. So it's day 35 here, and we're on the series of on friendship. And so last couple of days been looking at the subject of unconditional love, and it's really interesting actually because. Doing these sessions like every day, it's like what can happen is that you can get. Well, I've been getting a little bit into a little bit driven with it all, and it doesn't kind of feel quite right somehow, So like last night, I just kind of took my foot off the gas a bit more, and just kind of chilled out a bit more, and went to bed early, had a good 8 hours sleep, and I thought, well, just kind of like let go, just something will happen, something will happen. We don't need to keep trying all the time. Straining, it doesn't somehow, it doesn't feel right that, and then this morning I just thought, well, why don't I do a session on the Pure Land? So in Buddhism, you have different schools of Buddhism. In if you think of China and Japan, you've got Zen Buddhism, and You've also got something called Pure Land Buddhism. So the vast majority of Buddhists in the East, in China and Japan, are Pure Land Buddhists, and it's a very different approach. So I'm going to look at that later on. But we're just going to have quite a relaxed session this morning, and in line with what I've just said, about. Sometimes it can just feel like the wrong thing to be just trying all the time, and we'll kind of look at why. So what we'll do is, in line with that, we'll begin with a relaxation. So if you get a pile of books, something about that thick. And a mat to lie on. So we'll do a relaxation and move into the rest of the session. Okay, so begin by just resting back on your elbows, and have your knees pointing up towards the ceiling. And just allow your mind to become a bit lazy. So we're just waiting for gravity to do its work. Being aware of the sensations in your arms and your shoulders as you're in this position, feeling of your feet touching the ground with sensations in your feet. I'll just take a few deeper breaths, longer breaths. Or just allow whatever your breath wants to do to happen. It might want to have a longer breath. So what we're doing in this session is we're going to try and get out of our own way, so we're letting life happen and trying to align ourselves with that rather than thinking about in terms of dictating things to life. So when your body feels like it's had enough of being in this position, just gradually unfurling your spine very slowly. Just really take your time along the ground, and then just resting your head on the books. So resting your head, but not your neck, and then just push the books slightly away from you, so that it just gives a little bit of a stretch to the back of your neck. And just enjoying the feeling of your feet on the ground. And if your knees want to splay apart, just maybe point have them pushed to leaning on each other a little bit. So the theme for today, in a way, is trust, or faith, or confidence. And it's trusting what can be trusted. So just feeling that we can trust the ground to support us. It's not going to give way anytime soon. I could be wrong, because I could have an earthquake any minute. But it's not very likely. And maybe having a sense that take your attention down into the ground or into whatever building that you're in. So I'm on the first floor, so just have a sense of the structure of the building. If you're not out, you might even be outdoors, mightn't you, laying on the ground. So wherever you are, just have a sense of really kind of in your imagination going down and looking at what's underneath you. So underneath me is I've got the structure of the building, the walls of the floor, the walls of the downstairs flat, and then they're supported by the ground. So, and then I go into the ground, and it's earth, it's soil. And then that goes down. So just imagine, take your attention maybe about 6 feet down into the earth underneath whatever building that you're in. And at the same time, take your attention upwards into to the sky. Just have a sense of maybe like going about 100 feet upwards into the sky in your imagination. Just having a sense that the part of your body that's closest to the ground, it wants to be pulled down towards that point that's 6 feet down under the earth. And that the part of your body that's closest to the sky wants to be lifting upwards towards that point in the sky. And all the points in between those 2 points are kind of getting stretched a little bit. So it's not easy for a long muscle to be a tense muscle. So that feeling of being kind of your body being pulled in 2 directions. So having a sense of the muscles in the body becoming softer and longer. And then the joints of the body, just space is opening up. And you can rest your hands either by your sides or on your body, on your hips or your chest, whatever you want to do. And listening to the birds, if you've got any birds there. And just receiving the world of the senses into a soft awareness. So just imagine that anything that you can see, any light coming into your eyes, just turns into electricity and then moves down the nerves, the optic nerve, into your brain. Any sounds impact on the ears and then turn into electricity and move down the nerves into the brain. Same with taste and smell and the sensations of touch in the bodies, feeling of sensation on the skin and feeling of the kind of volume in the tension in your body just turns into electricity and moves down the nerves into the brain, and then so we're just receiving the world into a soft awareness. And just taking your attention onto your breathing. Just watch your breath come and go. And breathing any tension out of the body on the out breath. So now we're just going to start to do something a little bit, might be a little bit unusual for you. We're going to start using our imagination and applying it to the world around us, to our experience around us. So what I want you to do is to just be aware of the contact of your body with the ground. And I want you to imagine that where the places where your body is touching the ground, it starts to check that area starts to transform, and what it transforms into is something that's a bit like a crystal floor. Just use your imagination to, just imagine something quite beautiful and delicate, and it's got all sorts of different coloured rays of light inside it, being refracted. If you're not very good at visualizing, maybe just think of anything that just feels a bit magical. And then I want you to imagine that area just starts to become a bit bigger, so it's spreading out. So just imagine like Superman movie or something. Just imagine that Superman's fortress of solitude is kind of being constructed around you. So just imagine that the room itself that you're in and the walls start to become made out of precious substances like jewels and lapis lazuli, gold. In fact, just start to construct a world around yourself that's just really magical and how you would like it. So personally, I'd like a nice flat plane which is made out of lapis lazuli, and in the White Lotus Sutra we get the earth turns into a globe that's just flat, a blue, made out of lapis lazuli, and then there's these golden cords which spread around across the earth, and at all the intersections between the cords is a Buddha sat under a jewel tree. So just start to make a world around yourself that's somehow representing something that would be really beautiful to you. So what we're doing here is we're constructing what's called the Pure Land Sakavati. And just imagine that you're surrounded by your friends and people that you find inspiring. And everything in the world is just as you would want it, as you like it. And just working to believe that this is possible, that the vision is true, that you are really in a magical place where everything just goes as you would like it. I'm just having a sense that we don't really know. Life's a mystery. We don't really know how it might be, how it can be. So not kind of fixing ourselves in our views about things. Just allowing all sorts of possibilities. And just imagine that all the beings in this Pure Land are all wishing each other well. They're all being really helpful towards each other. And they're not preferring themselves to other people. Completely cooperative. Now just coming back to your body, just let this vision gradually fade. So the Pure Land just becomes the ground that you're in touch with, the area that your body's touching the ground is just made out of crystal, and then this gradually disappears as well. And then just picking your left or right hand side and then just rolling over onto your side, just resting there, just to let the blood recirculate. So we have a sense that the world of imagination can be real, but the world of sensation is equally real, so both are real. in a way, both have different functions. And then just carry on rolling over so that you're on your hands and knees. And then mindfully moving into your meditation posture. Okay, so we're just going to do a little bit of mindfulness of breathing practice. So just allowing your body to support you, the structure of your body to support you, so just sensing where the bones are in your body. So we don't want to be holding on in our muscles, to hold ourselves up. We just need to balance our body so that the weight goes down through the skeleton into the ground. And then relaxation is like a physical thing, it's just like unfurling a fist. So just having a sense of softening in the muscles throughout the body. And taking your attention to how you feel at the moment. And then beginning to notice your breath, the sensations of your breath, and the movement of your breath. Notice when you're breathing in, Notice when you're breathing out. So just watching the breath as continuously as you can for the next 5 minutes. Okay, so my favourite phrase. Okay, so uh, yeah, as I said earlier in the beginning, I was talking about the idea of trying too hard, and sometimes that doesn't feel right. And so this is what can happen when we get into, when we try to do something in life, or that's good. That's a good thing to do. We can end up kind of like keeping going, and we get into maybe straining a little bit, and so in Buddhism, you've got what's called Pure Land Buddhism, and the largest Buddhist sects in Japan are Pure Land sects. So all of you, when you hear about people chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, like in Nichiren's Buddhism, this is Pure Land. So a lot of Buddhists who do chanting are kind of Pure Land Buddhists. And I think the important thing with all of this, it's almost like a kind of it's an antidote to kind of perfectionism. So I think we've got to learn to do things imperfectly, really, because if we're sort of trying to just be perfect all the time, then what happens is the ego just gets involved in that and wants to appropriate it and all that, and the tone is just feels wrong. So I'm going to talk about Pure Land Buddhism, and so there's a scripture called the larger. This will be the right way around on YouTube. The largest Sakavati Vyuha Sutra, or the Sutra on the Buddha of Eternal Life. So the Buddha of Eternal Life is Amitabha or Amida Buddha, the Red Buddha, and basically there's a story associated with Amitabha or Amida, and the story goes something like, told imperfectly because I can't quite remember it, but it goes something like, way back in the ancient history, like aeon. So Buddhist cosmology talks about aeons and aeons. An aeon is the amount of time that it would take to wear a mountain down if you just brushed a bit of silk against it about every 100 years. So that's a long time, isn't it? So it talks about aeons, and so many aeons ago, there was a Buddhist practitioner called, and I forget this wrong. I apologise to the Buddhist tradition. Called Dharmakara, and he kind of he wanted to attain enlightenment, and he approached this other Buddha, and this Buddha, and he says, and he made these vows. So he made these vows, and he said things. Says he made 48 vows, and he said, "Oh Buddha, if in that Buddha country of mine." So he's sort of saying that when he becomes a Buddha, he will create this Buddha country, or this pure land called Sakavati, this magical. In a way, it's like a place where it's the best conditions where you can practice. So in the visualization we did there, where we're imagining like jewel trees, crystal floors, and buildings made out of gold and all that sort of thing, then that is like that's the Pure Land. That's imagining the Pure Land. So we're imagining the best possible life that we might have. What is that like? Which is really important to imagine that. I've talked about that in the Metabhavana, loving kindness meditation. You need to know what happiness is for you. So Dharmakara says, if in that Buddha country of mine there should be either hell, animals, realm of departed spirits, the body of fighting spirits, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. So that's enlightenment. If in that country, Buddha country of mine, the beings who are born there should die and fall into hell, animal realms, the realm of departed spirit, may I not attain the highest perfect knowledge. If in that Buddha country of mine, beings who are born there should not be all of one colour, that is golden colour, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. If in that Buddha country of mine there should be perceived any difference between gods and men, except when people count and tell, saying, these are gods and men, but only in ordinary and perfect parlance, meaning that they're essentially the same in a way. If in that Buddha country of mine, the beings who are born there should not be possessed of the highest perfections of miraculous power and self-control, so that they could at least, in the shortest moment of one thought, step over 100,000 nayutas of kotis of Buddha countries. That's a massive number. So they often talk about the number in Mahayana Buddhism, the number of grains of sand in the river Ganges being like 1 nayuta, something like that. I might have got that wrong. Then may I not attain the highest perfect knowledge. So all this is meant to really stretch your imagination. If in that Buddha country of mine, the beings who are born there should not all acquire the divine eye, so that at least be able to see 100,000 nayutas of kotis of worlds. So divine eye is kind of linked with seeing, with kind of insight into reality. The divine ear. So they talk about in Buddhist mythology about the Buddha kind of attaining miraculous powers, like being able to read people's minds and all that sort of thing. And if you've got a very scientific outlook and you want to just immediately put that in the bin, then the whole point of all these imaginative exercises is it's about thinking that there's something beyond what we know. It's more that, really. It's like there's a mystery to things, not that these things are like literally true, but it's like when we talk about miraculous powers, it's like we're saying, really, I could have powers very different to the ones I have now. All sorts of things might be possible, and I'm not just going to limit myself to what I know right now, or what I can do right now. Anyway, so if in that good Buddha country of mine, the beings who are born there should not all be skilled in the knowledge of the thoughts of other people. There you go. That's telepathy. Blah blah blah. If in that Buddha country of mine, the beings who are born there should form any idea of property. Wow, socialism. There's no sense, in the Pure Land of ownership. I own this. You own that. You've got more than me. Even in regard to their own body. So it's like. If in that Buddha country of mine, beings who are born there should not all be firmly established in absolute truth till they have reached Mahaparinirvana. So that's like the state the Buddha got into after he died. may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge, enlightenment. If any being should be able to count the pupils belonging to me after I've attained the highest perfect knowledge in that Buddha country mind, blah blah blah. So it's like saying, kind of, once he's become enlightened, his disciples are like infinite. So he's going to have infinite disciples. May I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. If after I've obtained the highest perfect knowledge, my light should be liable to be measured in this Buddha country of mind. So Amitabha means infinite light. So yeah. So it's like his light is infinite in the Pure Land. And I think a way of seeing this is of kind of like chunking this down to our experience is, well, what Amitabha's interest, what the Buddha of love is interested in is the welfare of all beings. So in a way, his light represents his awareness or something, So it's like his awareness is infinite. So it's like it's infinitely acute and sees everything, illuminates everything, but also it does that because he really cares about all beings. So it's said that Amitabha is interested in all beings, but specifically he's interested in you. You specifically is who he's interested in. And that's quite a hard thing to take in, I think, sometimes. Well, it is for me anyway. Westerners, like, we sort of tend to be, be self-effacing and all that sort of thing. And so this his light, in a way, his care is infinite. If the measure of the life of the beings in that country of mine, after I've attained the highest perfect knowledge, should be liable to be measured. So this is a reference to, it's sometimes called infinite life as well, Amitayas. It's in a way, it's kind of same figure. Vow 16. If for the beings in this Buddha country of mine, after I've obtained enlightenment, even the name of sin should exist, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. So there's not even a conception of wrongdoing, because in that land everybody's cooperating so much that and they're all being completely skillful. So in Buddhism we have the idea of skillful and unskillful, of actions of body, speech and mind. So yeah, the beings in that land are all practicing intensively and are being constantly in positive mental states. So there's no anxiety, there's no ill will, there's no anything what we call hindrances to meditation. There's no doubt, there's no sloth and torpor, there's no dullness in the body or mind, there's no restlessness, anxiety. There's just skillful mental states like mindfulness and love and compassion and patience and energy in pursuit of the good. If immeasurable and innumerable blessed Buddhas in immeasurable Buddha countries do not glorify my name after I've obtained Bodhi, if they do not preach my fame and proclaim my praise and utter it together, then may I not obtain highest perfect knowledge. So all Buddhas. So you get a sense in the Buddhist Mahayana Buddhist cosmology. You've got what are called Buddha fields. So every Buddha out there, and it's a bit like, so in in Western, kind of normal cosmology, we think of like all the galaxies out there. There's like billions of literally billions of galaxies, and this massive universe that's 15 million light years across, and it takes light 1.5 seconds to get from the Earth to the Moon, and 8 minutes to get to the Sun, and then 15 million light years to get to the edge of the universe. So our physical universe is mind-boggling. And what Buddhism's doing is it's saying, well, the spiritual universe is also mind-boggling. So you've got like Buddhas in different Buddha's teaching in different worlds, in almost like in different dimensions, and some of them, and they teach in different ways. So some teach by perfume, and some they just, it's all about expanding your imagination about what's possible, what life might be like, what enlightenment might be like. This is all meant to expand your mind about what it might be to be enlightened, how that might feel, or what the mental state might be like. This is what this is all about. It's not, it's that's the aim behind it. So all these Buddhas, and all the millions and billions of Buddhas around the universe are all, will all be praising Amitabha and his Pure Land. So now we come to verse or vow 18, which is the really important, one of the two really important vows in Pure Land Buddhism. So it says, "O Bhagavat," so Bhagavat just means Buddha. If those beings who have directed their thought towards the highest perfection, knowledge, in other worlds, so they're intent on gaining enlightenment, and who, after having heard my name, when I have attained enlightenment, have meditated on me with serene thoughts. So serene thoughts is like faith, having real serene faith. So calm faith, calm confidence. If at the moment of their death, after having approached them, surrounded by an assembly of monks, I should not stand before them, worshipped by them, that is, so that their thoughts should not be troubled, then may I not obtain highest perfect knowledge. So basically he's saying that he's promising to be there with them after their death. So he's promising that they will be reborn in Sakavati, in his Pure Land, and he will be there with them. And then verse 19 is saying, it's saying the same thing, but it's saying, even those who have only 10 times repeated the thought of that Buddha country, barring always those beings who've committed the 5 deadly sins, and of course an obstruction or abuse of the good law, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. So basically he's saying that, like reciting his name like 10 times, something like that, you're guaranteed to be born in the Pure Land. Unless you've done something really serious, like, the 5 deadly sins, So it's things like wounding a Buddha, killing an arahant, really very, very serious things. So everybody else just gets reborn. So the point, one of the main points behind Pure Land Buddhism is it's saying that no matter how much, how kind of unskillful a person you are, how how rubbish you are, how nobody's, everybody's accepted, So like the Buddha of Amitabha or Amida, the Buddha of love, it accepts everybody, and so all you have to do. So basically, what the 48 vows are saying is that because he said at the end of each verse, this is what my Pure Land's going to be like, and if it's not like that, then may I not attain highest perfect knowledge, may I not become enlightened. But the fact that he did, so if you have faith that he did become enlightened, then he's saying then all this is true. So it's an act of faith that you think, oh, Amitabha did. He actually attained enlightenment. He worked from being Dharmakara. He worked on himself. He became enlightened, and then all these promises are fulfilled. So the Pure Land exists, and if I chant his name, then I will be reborn there, and that's the end of it. I don't need to worry about anything else. So in a way, this is a kind of faith taken to it's in a way it's a description of what faith is. Faith in Shraddha in Buddhism. It's like it is an act of faith. It's a bit like we often don't know about things. So we have to actually put our faith in one thing or another thing. So when people in Nichiren Buddhism or other Pure Land Buddhists do chanting, then what they're doing is they're doing this. They're reciting the name of Amida. So in Pure Land Buddhism, people chant Namo Amida Butsu, homage to Amida Buddha. In Nichiren Buddhism, they chant Nam Hyorange Kyo, which means homage to the White Lotus Sutra, and it's similar, really. It's just so in the back in the 1970s, there was like a lot of interest in chanting. Nichiren Buddhism. People would chant. I remember a film with Jack Nicholson in it, this young sailor was being taken to prison by Jack Nicholson and his other, his mate. They're both sailors, and this young guy, he learned the chanting, and he did the chanting, and then he ran away. They ran after him and caught him, but it was like somehow the chanting gave him hope, and I know that it does for a lot of people. Doing sort of Buddhist chanting. So people might just sit in front of a shrine, and then they just chant for an hour a day, maybe something like that, And I think what it does is they used to talk about chanting for a Porsche, back in the you'd want a Porsche, so you'd sort of just keep chanting for a Porsche every day. The idea is that eventually you get a Porsche. So it's a bit like. But the idea, there's a solid idea behind that, which is like if you keep bringing something to mind, and that has particular associations, then it makes it much more likely that you're going to go about getting that or doing that, because it's in your mind more. But the idea, I think, part of the idea is that you might chant for a Porsche, but actually over time, your desires might become. You might get a Porsche and that you're happy with that, but it might be the case that as you chant, then your desires become a bit more refined or something. Become a bit more. It might become. You might start chanting for a Porsche, and then you might end up like wanting to help all beings become enlightened. Something like that. Yeah. So, So there is an image in Pure Land Buddhism which I think is really interesting, and it sort of illustrates our situation. I think really it illustrates our situation right now, actually, which is that the situation of being in danger. You know, the danger that we're in from the COVID-19 crisis. You know, and it's called the teaching of the white path. So, and it's basically a story. Sorry, I've lost my piece of paper. There we go. So here we go. So, to all those who wish to be reborn in the Pure Land, I now tell a parable for the sake of those who would practice the true way as a protection for their faith and a defence against the danger of heretical views. What is it? It is like a man who desires to travel 100,000 li, so that's just some distance in Chinese or Japanese. Suddenly, in the midst of his route, he sees two rivers. One is a river of fire. So you've got a river of fire stretching south. The other is a river of water stretching north. Each of the two rivers is 100 steps across and unfathomably deep. So here we are. So we've got a river of fire and a river of water, and they're unfathomably deep. And then you've got this path across the river. Yeah, so the two rivers stretch without end to the north and the south. But between them is a white path, barely 4 or 5 inches wide. And it spans the east and west banks and is 100 steps long. The waves of water surge and splash against the path on one side, while the flames of fire scorch it on the other. Ceaselessly, the fire and water come and go. And the man is out in the middle of a wasteland, so he's on one side of the two rivers, and he's on his own, so none of his kind are to be seen. And a horde of vicious ruffians and wild beasts see him there alone and vie with one another in rushing in to kill him. So basically, he's on one side, one bank, and there's a bunch of thugs and wild animals want to come for him. But he, so fearing death, he runs and he sees the two rivers and he says, "I see no end to these rivers." And he just thinks the only way across is along the white path. If I stay here, I'm definitely going to die. So I can't really turn back, but it's actually, it's dangerous to go across the white path. If I stay, I'll die. If I go forward, I'll die. I'll probably fall into one of the rivers. Since death must be faced in any case, I would rather follow this path before me and go ahead. With this path, I can surely make it across. So it's only like 4 inches wide. But just as he thinks this, he hears someone from the east bank call out and encourage him. "Friend, just follow this path resolutely, and there will be no danger of death. To stay here is to die." And on the other bank, so there's a figure there like on each side. On the other bank, there's someone calling out, "Come straight ahead, single-mindedly and with fixed purpose. I can protect you. Never fear falling into the fire or water. So what he does is, at the urging of these two figures, he straightens himself up in mind and body, and resolves without any lingering doubts or hesitations. But sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah, he. So basically, yeah, the ruffians kind of try to say, "Oh no, it's too dangerous. Don't go across that path." But he does go across, and he gets to the other side. And the other side is Sakavati. Represents Sakavati. So the story is representing the idea that we are in danger. We are in danger. And the tendency is to, when we're in danger, is we can want to try and struggle our way out of the situation, but actually sometimes there isn't any way out of the situation. It's a bit like, well, when we're faced with the I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she was saying that when her children come back from visiting the father for half a week, it's like there's just this uncertainty. Like, she doesn't know, whether they've picked up the virus or not, and or whether So it's a bit like there's all this uncertainty at the moment, so what Pure Land Buddhism is saying really is like, we need to just trust that that things will be all right. We need to trust that Amitabha or Amida or whatever kind of force in the universe we think might be kind of there. People have different religions. We need to trust that it will be be all right. But to do that, it's like we have to kind of hand ourselves over to this other power. We have to just have confidence that things will be all right. So the commentator on this says that the white path in the centre is comparable to the pure aspiration for rebirth in the Pure Land, which arises in the midst of the passions of greed and anger. So greed and anger are likened to the fire and the water, and the good mind is infinitesimal, and this is thus likened to the white path, a few inches in width. So what this is saying is that it's like Pure Land is saying that good is rare and evil is really common. So it's like it's really hard to be good, in challenging situations, and it's really easy to be tempted to do something else, But if we can have faith, and actually what comes about. So a lot of the Pure Land patriarchs in Buddhism were very humble people. They, like Shinran, for instance, he who lived about 11th century or something. He in Japan, he didn't have any disciples because he thought, well, who am I to have disciples? And he thought that even his own faith came from didn't come from him. It came from the Buddha, Amida Buddha. So there's something about a kind of radical humility, and like realization that we just need to make progress, not be perfect. So what is progress? It's like something like just trying to have faith that that our back is covered, that the Buddhas are in our corner, and then to act appropriately, to just do what we can, do the next indicated action in front of us that might be helpful to ourselves and other people. So it might be that we just do the washing up, or we just make our bed, or we tidy up, and sometimes those little actions just have a consequence. So yesterday I tidied up a lot of my books in my bedroom, and I put them in Theravada Buddhism, Zen, Tibetan, psychology, and I thought, well, I just did that, and I felt a bit chaotic, but actually once I finished it, it helps. It was helpful, and so there's the idea of polish over there shines over here. So if you do an action like what's called an esteemable act, then it just does have a ripple effect on the rest of your life, on other people's lives. So we're all in this situation where death is inevitable, and even though we're thinking, oh yeah, no, things are all right, in a way, they aren't. There's always something's going to come at us. So it's good that we try and get prepared for that now, and I think ideas like this, that the White Path from Pure Land Buddhism, are quite helpful in that. In fact, a lot of teachings in Buddhism are trying to get us prepared for death and what might happen. It was the same with the Tibetan Book of the Dead teachings that I explored in series 2. It's like, what are we going to do when that kind of moment arises? So I think I want to finish with just a little bit of from the Sikhavati View Sutta, a larger one. Some of the description of the Pure Land, Sikhavati. So now Ananda. So Ananda was the Buddha's disciple. You remember from earlier in the week. That world Sikhavati is fragrant with several sweet-smelling scents, rich in manifold flowers and fruits, adorned with gem trees, and frequented by tribes of manifold sweet-voiced birds, which have been made by the Tathagata, the Buddha, on purpose. And those gem trees are of several colours, of many colours, and of many 100,000 colours. There are gem trees there of golden colour, and made of gold. There are those of silver colour, made of silver. There are those of beryl colour, made of beryl. There are those of crystal colour, made of crystal. There are those of coral colour, made of coral. There are those of red pearl colour, made of red pearl colour. There are some trees of 2 gems, that is gold and silver. There are some of 3 gems, that is gold, silver and beryl, and so on. There are some of 6 gems, gold, silver, beryl, crystal, coral and red pearl. It's all meant to hypnotise you, this. And of the trees made of gold, the flowers, leaves, small branches, trunks, and roots are made of gold, and the fruits are made of silver. Of trees made of silver, the flowers, leaves, small branches, trunks, roots are made of silver, and the fruits are made of beryl. So it continues like that. There are lotus flowers there, half a yojana in circumference. That's a large, very large distance. There are those 3, 4, 5 yojanas in circumference. There are no black mountains anywhere in that Buddha country, nor anywhere jewel mountains. There is that country is level on every side, lovely like the palm of the hand, with districts full of jewels and treasures of every kind. There are those great rivers that flow along full of water scented with the best perfumes of sandalwood, dark fragrant sandalwood trees, heavenly flowers, white water lilies, full of the delightful sounds of peacocks, sparrows, cuckoos, parrots, ducks, geese, herons, cranes, swans and others, with small islands inhabited by flocks of birds, created by the Buddha, adorned with fields full of metals, with fords on which it is easy to drink, free of mud and covered with gold dust. And when these beings there desire, thinking what kind of wishes should be fulfilled for them, then exactly such wishes are fulfilled for them according to the Dharma. So whatever people wish for, they get. And the sound which rises from that water is delightful, and the whole Buddha country is aroused by it. And if beings who stand on the borders of the river wish that the sound should not come within their earshot, then it does not come within their earshot. And whatever sound a man wishes to hear, exactly that delightful sound he hears. And for instance, the sound Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the perfections, the stages, the powers, freedom from attachment, consciousness, emptiness, unconditioned, free from desire, not made, not born, without origin. So basically they're hearing what the Dharma is all the time. Having heard these sounds, everybody feels the highest delight and pleasure, accompanied by retirement, passionlessness, quiet, cessation, law, and a stock of merits leading to perfect knowledge. So everybody hearing these sounds just becomes really calm, free from passions, free from greed. There is nowhere in that Sakavati world any sound of sin, obstacle, misfortune, distress and destruction. There is nowhere any sound of pain. Even the sound of perceiving what is neither pain nor pleasure is not there, much less the sound of pain. For that reason the world is called Sakavati. The whole kalpa, that's like that massive length of time, would come to an end while the different causes of the pleasure of the world Sakavati are being praised. And even then, the end of those causes of happiness could not be reached. So I hope that gives you a sense of the Pure Land. So so it's now nearly 9 o'clock here. So let's just finish. We'll just do a little bit of chanting. So we're just going to chant for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So just follow me, and I'm just going to chant the Amitabha mantra, just in the way that it used to be chanted years ago. These days, lots of floweriness been brought in, but I think just keeping it simple. And just imagining that the red Buddha is inviting you across the white path, and that you're going to end up in Sakavati. So do it with a little bit of energy, because what we offering, what we offer and how we offer it is you wouldn't want to offer a dead flower, would you, to a shrine? So just offer something that's bright. Om Mami Deva Hri. 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 So from tomorrow we're going to begin a series on ritual and devotion.